some of these connectors on this side PCB, the pins are pushed in and they're jutting out on this side, lifting the tracks. Now I've pushed them all back in, so it's a bit hard to tell, but the pads are just loose. So to repair them, I have two options. One is to use my liquid insulation. The other is to use super glue to place a drop under each pad and then use the liquid insulation. So which way do I go? Well, the first thing to do is to just make sure that each of the pads has continuity to the next pad along the track that has lifted. I'll do that, make sure they're okay, and by then I will have decided. What I will do is give it a very soft clean with alcohol. That will also help the liquid insulation help stick. There's actually not just the connectors, but also other components where the pads have been pushed through. There's a coil just here that has the pads pushed up. That is the one trouble with single-sided boards. They don't have a plated through hole to give them strength. Almost all circuit boards these days, unless it's really cheap, use double-sided boards with through-hole plating. They're not much more expensive and certainly a lot more reliable, and you're able to put more on the boards. You don't need to use all of these little tiny wire links, not if you design it properly. But that's how it was at the time. That's how they made stuff. In fact, they probably still do make a lot of single-sided stuff for the really cheap products these days. But alright, well, I've pushed them all through back into place as best as I can, and the best way is to look at the height of all the connectors, and as soon as I pushed the connector cover back in, it pushed the pads out again. So I'll have to go through them all just to make sure the pins are all up at the right height this side. So I'll check this connector again. Alright, that's alright. Okay, they all appear to be up at the correct height. This is what led me to look at them in the first place, was the heights of a couple of pins were right down, and I thought, what? All the housings are flush against the PCB now, and the pads are now flush with the back of the board. And check the continuity just to make sure that any track lifting hasn't broken. That's good. Well, I'm pretty impressed with this particular liquid electrical tape by Starbright. I found that it actually settled as a fairly stiff consistency, so It takes a while to dry, but I think this should work really well. I won't bother with super glue, and the trouble with super glue is that it's hygroscopic. It will attract water, and we don't want that. Go along each of them. Right, finally got all the connectors, but I'll also do down the bottom just in case. Although I don't think there's anything wrong with them. Now this is going to take a good day to dry and provide strength. So I'll come back to you in 24 hours and let you know how it went. I've had this drying for a day, and I can tell that this liquid insulation is quite nice now. It still has a little bit of softness to it, so which is probably good, but is it strong enough to hold the connectors? So what we'll do is, now this was the one that I noticed first, this one here. I'll try putting on a connector and see if it causes the pins to be pushed through. No, I could feel it pushing through. I had my finger on the backside there and I could feel it being pushed through still. Oh, that's a shame. So what it means is that insulation I put on isn't strong enough to hold it from being pushed in. So what I'm going to do, I've been thinking about it, and it's not what I wanted to do, but I'm going to put hot glue across each of these. As far as I can tell, hot glue is not conductive. I have used it on mains before, although perhaps I shouldn't have, but this is only low voltage, so it should be fine, but it really needs something to stop those pins from pushing through. So that's what I'm going to do. For a lot of things, these hot glue guns have been a lifesaver. They are amazingly strong when used in the right circumstance. Right, now I'll try this connector again. Yes, I just tried that connector again and pulling it in and out a few times, and there was no movement on the other side at all. So my hot glue remedy has fixed that. That's good. Yeah, it looks a little bit messy, but oh well. That's what we have to do. Actually, it doesn't look that bad. It's just, in fact, you won't ever see it. It's up against the panel. So I'll put it back in. Right, this is the RAM board, and it goes down in here. So it goes down vertically, fits into these two connectors. Right, I've put all the connectors back on the board. There was one connector that's a 2-pin connector there that I thought, where's the loom for it? But I've just searched through the service manual, and as far as I can tell, it's not connected to anything. It's I guess it's a test point for using the test jig, which the test jig has a whole lot of cables that go off onto various parts of the boards, and that might be one of them. So we shall carry on. Anyway, so that's the end of that part of the story. So that board should now be okay, or at least not give any troubles with connectors. Let's move on.